All right, Larry Krueger down here at Levi's, getting you ready for everything that happened on a Thursday down here in Santa Clara for the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show. All right, Niners practiced. We had a chance to watch some of that practice. Niners getting ready to take off for Tampa at the end of the week. And they have a tilt with the Buccaneers Sunday in Tampa. 4-1 Niners, 4-1 Bucs. Should be pretty good. Today in Santa Clara, Mac Jones was limited. He didn't do a lot of throwing. In the part of practice that I watched, he didn't throw the football very much. Now, I don't know what that means. If that means it was a lot of Adrian Martinez reps. I don't know if that means that Jones is really sore or if he's having some kind of physical problem. He does have, a knee injury. He does have probably a couple different things that are ailing him at this point. But he didn't do a ton of throwing. I don't know what that means, but it was a lot of Adrian Martinez. Now, Brock Purdy was on the practice field, but he was off to the side, working out on the side. He's obviously got the toe injury. He did not play today. Ricky Pearsall has got a knee injury. He also was on a side field working out. Jordan Watkins has got a calf injury. He was out. Robert Beal with an ankle. He was out. Yatir Gross-Matos has both the knee and the hamstring injury. He was out. We also spotted Jacob Cowing on the side field as well. It was good to see Alfred Collins back at practice. He was back at practice. He missed yesterday's practice, but he was back out there today. So as far as Juwan Jennings, I didn't see Juwan Jennings out there, so I don't know about his status for this weekend. But I think the Niners very well could go into this game with no Juwan Jennings and no Ricky Pearsall. And obviously Brandon Ayuk is yet to make his return. So that's kind of where they stand physically coming into this game. One stat line to keep track of, Fred Warner has 946 career tackles. He's 5 tackles away from passing Patrick Willis for the 49er franchise lead. Patrick Willis is at 950, Fred Warner's at 946. Patrick Willis, obviously a Hall of Famer. Fred Warner someday will be. Two great players. Who's better between Willis and Warner? I'd probably lean with Willis, but man, it's close. Also, kind of an interesting stat that I saw today, Mikael Williams is commanding double teams at a really high rate. In fact, Mikael Williams so far has the 4th highest double team rate in the league thus far. And I asked Robert Saleh about it, and he said, yeah, he's doing a nice job at dealing with those doubles. He's really good against the run. He's obviously not nearly as good against the pass because he's got to work on his moves and his ability to get to the quarterback. But Robert did kind of confirm that, yeah, he has been doubled at the 4th highest rate. The only players in football, by the way, who've been doubled at a higher rate than Mikael Williams in the first 5 games, Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett, and TJ Watt. So, I mean, that right there kind of speaks to the impact of a guy like Mikael Williams. Even without a lot of sack production, even without a lot of tackle production, this guy is attracting the attention of opposing offenses, and he's commanding doubles, and anybody who commands doubles on a front line is doing something right. So that's a good note. We should tell you, of course, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Also, 49er football season all season long is presented by Sleeper, the fastest growing fantasy platform in the world. It's a one-stop shop. You get blazing fast news, real-time stats, group chats, season-long leagues, and of course, Sleeper picks for daily fantasy. Use the promo code Larry and Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Links in the description. Terms and conditions do apply. And thanks to Sleeper for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. A couple other 49er notes. Are we going to see the Niners get a rushing touchdown? The 49ers are the only team in the NFL that is yet to score a rushing touchdown. The 31 other teams in the league have all scored a rushing touchdown. Will this be the week that the Niners get a rushing touchdown? Also, when you're watching this game on Sunday, watch Tristan Wirfs, the Bucs offensive tackle, their left tackle. He's got the best pressure rate allowed in the NFL since the start of the 2024 season at 2.2%. Only the Eagles' future Hall of Famer Lane Johnson is even in his category. Johnson's at 2.7%, but Wirfs 2.2% pressure rate allowed. He's a really, really good offensive tackle. You think back to that draft, the Niners got Kinlaw. Man, it would have been nice to come away with Tristan Wirfs in that draft. It just didn't happen. John Lynch stopped by on the morning show on KNBR earlier today, and he talked about a number of things. I think the most interesting thing in the interview was he said that he's having trade conversations with other teams in the league about making a trade before the November 4th NFL trade deadline. So who's he after? I would imagine he's probably after a defensive lineman, maybe a defensive end, maybe a defensive tackle. It could be a tight end. It could be a wide receiver. A lot of people say, what about an offensive lineman? There just aren't any. There just really aren't any offensive linemen that are available. You have to do that in the draft for the most part. But as far as some names, I was doing a stream the other day with Raj Melwani, and we had a little contest. Come up with 5 names that you think might have a good chance of becoming Niners. His 5 names were Kayvon Thibodeau, New York Giants defensive end, Jalen Phillips, Dolphins defensive end, Arden Key, Titans defensive end, Xavier Legette, Carolina Panthers wide receiver, who's interesting because he's a talented, big-bodied wide receiver who's been considered a bust. But man, if you brought him here, maybe he would resurface. And then he put Trey Hendrickson as the 5th guy on his list. My list went Will McDonald of the Jets, who I really think is a Bryce Huff clone. I think Will McDonald and Bryce Huff could be a phenomenal edge combo. Miles Murphy, the young defensive end from Cincinnati, he's a little raw, but he's a freaky athlete and tremendous upside. Jeffrey Simmons, I think Simmons is that dominant interior rusher, and gosh, if you could get Simmons, I would extend for Jeffrey Simmons. He's the one guy on this list I would extend for. Thomas Incoom is kind of a sleeper name, defensive end for Carolina. Played at one of the Central Michigan schools, Western Michigan, Central Michigan, I forget which one, but he was really good in college. He's been a stand-up outside linebacker, but he's also about 265 pounds. I think he's wasting away on Carolina's team, and I think he could be an impact guy here. I think he could really help. And I think you can get him for virtually nothing. And the 5th guy I threw out was David Njoku, the tight end from the Browns. The Niners need 2 tight ends. Tongas has done a really nice job, but Farrell has been disappointing, and he dropped a couple passes at practice today. So the Niners could definitely use good tight end play, and Njoku, to me, makes a lot of sense. The Niners are one of 6 4-1 football teams, and they may be the most surprising of the 4-1 football teams. Eagles, Bills, Bucs, Colts, Jaguars, and Niners are all 4-1. I guess I would say the Colts are probably the most surprising 4-1 team, maybe Jacksonville. But the Niners, you'd have to say, if you look at how they've gotten there with all these injuries, I would have to say they're definitely among the most surprising teams in the NFL. Also, a couple stats that we're going to throw out tonight on Niners Nightly. These are kind of fantasy stats, but it kind of does illustrate some things. Mac Jones has produced 26.2 fantasy points in 2 of his 3 49er starts. So if you play fantasy football, and I think most people do, he's giving you a 26-point quarterback. That's a pretty good quarterback. Against Tampa and their beat-up secondary, Tampa's defense is ranked number 8 in most fantasy points allowed to opposing quarterbacks. So maybe Mac Jones could go off in this game. 3 quarterbacks in a row have scored 20-plus points against them, fantasy-wise. And if Ricky Pearsall and Juwan Jennings are out, look for Kendrick Bourne to potentially step up. Last week against the Rams, 11 targets, 10 catches, 142 yards. As I mentioned, Tampa's got some banged-up defensive backs. They might be cornerback 3, 4, and 5 that are playing in this game. They've allowed 5 wide receivers to score at least 12.9 fantasy points. So Might be another big day for Kendrick Bourne. Another guy to maybe keep your eye on in this game is the previously mentioned Jake Tonges. Tonges, the last 2 games, 10 catches, 99 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 16 targets. 16 targets going up against a Tampa defense that's allowed 4 touchdowns the past 2 games to opposing tight ends. Dallas Goedert and A.J. Barner both got to the end zone against this Tampa team. You may see Tonges score a touchdown in this game for the 49ers. All right, there you go. Thanks to Sleeper, thanks to Pig in a Pickle, thanks to all of you for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.